keep on talking. I'll be fine. We'll be right back.
Can I ask you guys a question? Because powerful people ask powerful questions because questions stay focused, and I'm going to focus you right now. So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How many of you want to win with your money? Just by the show of hands. Okay. How many of you want to win in your marriage? By the show of hands. All right. How many of you guys just want it all? Okay, awesome. I'm just making sure that I am in the right room. All right. So, you probably heard growing up or seen, whether it was living single or perhaps even good times. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, good times. I can't sing, but I'll say my name. And also we remember living single. But when you think about living single, all the ladies on there were living single, right? So they all were doing their thing and they had their careers and they were boss women just really doing what they wanted to do and pursuing their career, pursuing their business. But then we look at good times, it was a family, and then we remember the mom, she was always home and make sure they had a good meal. We didn't often see where it was both. We didn't often see you winning at home, being that domestic provider, being a super mom, picking up kids from aftercare, and all these things, and winning in your business, winning in your ministry. We just didn't see much. So sometimes with that, we have this false reality, and even it's a saying, it's a trend that's kind of went around that either you can be successful in business or you can be successful in your marriage. But oftentimes we don't see that it's the both at the same time. So that's the first lie that we came here to dispel. That you do not have to choose. Somebody say, I do not have to choose.
I do not have to choose.
Say, I can have it all.
I can have it all.
Well, let me tell you something, not all at the same time.
Uh-oh.
Okay? So you can have it all, but you just can't have it all at the same time. You're a superhuman, but you're not Superman or a super person, so you can't try to make everything at one time. So let me tell you a story. And it's going to be a story about the second lie that I'm about to dispel, which is my spouse doesn't or won't support me. Anybody ever felt like their spouse support was a little shady, a little lacking? A couple people in the room? All right, let me tell you a story. I remember one time I had asked my husband to do an interview with me. And this was my coach. I paid her $10,000, $12,000, whatever it was. And she said, hey, you're a singles coach. Why don't you have your husband come on and you guys share your story and you add this as a bonus to your coaching program. I'm like, God, that's a great idea. Sure. So I asked my husband about it, and usually like he obliged and said, yeah, I'll do it, no problem. So I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and put it into my little webinar slide. I go ahead and present the slide. I did it like 45 times. Okay, maybe like 4 or 5 times. I did it several times. Y'all know how that is. And then I went and I sold the program to customers. Got my clients, got my enrollment, hey, got my coaching program. And I go back to my husband, and I'm like, about that interview, what day is good for you? He's like, what? I said, for the interview we talked about that you said you would do with me to talk about how we met and all this stuff. He's like, I'm not doing the interview. I was crushed. And there was other things that he said on the phone that it was just so devastating in that moment. Actually, that was one of the first times in our marriage that I actually cried as a result of something he said. I can't even remember exactly what he said, but I just felt like in that moment, it was so insensitive. And I was like, oh my God. And we hung up. I think I hung up on him. It wasn't the first time I hung up on him since we were married anyway. We've been married 7 years. And I was like, this is not going well. I was just so upset. And I'm really telling all his business. I hope he's not watching. I actually called his mom and I told her about what's happening because he was kind of treating me a certain type of way. I'm like, I'm not used to this. I'm not sure what's going on. But what I realized, because I sat down and I talked with him, and what I realized is that he has some resentment built up. And it wasn't just about the video. You remember that $12,000 I told you about the coach? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I spent that on my own. I ain't telling him about it. I thought my business was going to handle that. But that wasn't quite the case. So he was starting to I was expanding I went beyond the capacity of what he was willing and able to give. And I was making unilateral decisions that was impacting our marriage. So I came here to tell you that sometimes support is not always participatory. Sometimes it's not always financial. Sometimes it may even be them available to create the space for you to do what you're doing, whether that's taking care of the kids, letting you go off away from him in the marriage and put your time and attention to write that book, to create that program. So we have to be very mindful of what the capacity capacity of our partner is and what role they're playing. So thankfully, we was able to reconcile that and get a better understanding of why it was so much tension about this 1 hour video, because it really wasn't about the video. Somebody said it wasn't about the video.
It wasn't about the video.
So don't believe the lies. It's important for me to also say here, in that moment, I had to shift my perspective. I had to change my mind about how I was expecting him to show up in my marriage. I was expecting him to be my photographer, my videographer, to give me all my equipment, to do interviews. He's like, babe, I'm not your employee. I'm just here to tell you, okay? I'm your spouse. So sometimes we have these unrealistic expectations of people that they're not able or willing to meet, and it's really not fair to them. So what I came by here to tell you is when you change your mind, you can ultimately change your life. I've been married for 7 years, and I'm so grateful that I have an amazing marriage, but it hasn't always been that way. But one of the things that allow my marriage to thrive is the perspective that I choose to bring to my marriage each and every day. So I said it once, and I'll say it again. When you change your mind, you change your life. You guys say that for me.
Change your mind, change your life.
The third and final lie that I'm going to share with you before I pass the mic is that I don't have time. Has anybody in the room ever felt like, I just don't have time? I don't have time to create this coaching program. I don't have time to even pick up the kids. I don't have time to cook dinner. I don't have time to go to the grocery store. Come on, somebody know about that Whole Foods delivery? I'm just saying. Right to your door. So sometimes we get into spaces that we don't have time. And I don't leave me out here by myself. I've been in times when I'm like, I don't have time to make sales calls. I don't have time to do the content or whatever the very thing I need to do to keep me into business. So that is a big lie that we don't have time. We have time for whatever we make time for, and it's about reprioritizing our priorities. So there's something that was inspired these 3Ds that I'm going to share with you, and it's actually the Eisenhower model, and it shares with you about how you can delegate your time in different tasks that you have. It's 1, deny. There's some things that people are asking you to do. There's some things that you're trying to do or you have on your schedule to do, and you really need to, delay that task. It may need to be done, but it doesn't need to be done now. So you need to really take a look at what are those things that's on my calendar and how am I managing. You don't really manage your time. You really manage your task.
Yes.
Time is a ticket and nothing you can do to stop it or interfere, right? It's going to go by whether you're ready or not. Ready or not, here I come, right? It's going to come for you. So you can delay those tasks. Some tasks you do need to outright deny. Some things you don't have the capacity to do. Some things you're not good at doing. I think about one time we were actually doing we did this Loving Me More challenge earlier this year. And I was trying to do the design page. And I told Mature, I'm going to have it up tomorrow. And then I'm telling him, have it up tomorrow. I said, okay, Mature, we're going to have to hire somebody because I ain't going to have it up tomorrow. When the day was coming and going, we hired this guy. I believe we paid him about $75 an hour. 3 hours later, he's like, I got your page up. So I'm up there trying to do this task that I don't have the talent or anything to do, and somebody else was able to do, but it took me 3 days trying. They were able to complete it in 3 days. So
3 hours.
sometimes you need to deny. Yes, give it up for that. And lastly, but definitely not least, there's some things you need to delegate. I know I spent over 5 years in my business learning all these great things about how to run a business, but the truth is I don't have the time, I don't have the capacity, and guess what? I don't even have the desire to do these things. And so some of these things really need to be delegated. So when you really understand that you are the owner and not the coach, right? And you operate in your space, then you're able to do what you've been designed to do. But it all starts with renewing your mind. My last and final thing I'm going to say is that you have to understand that you cannot have a booming business and a busted life. That's what the Black CEO of the Year, Danielle Derby, liked to say. And it's the truth. So change your mind, change your life. One more time. Change your mind, change your life. I said earlier, we want to have it all. We desire to have it all, but not at the same time. And many times what you find women doing is trying to compete with their spouses, trying to compete with their mates. They get into the relationship, I'm a powerhouse speaker, he's a powerhouse speaker. I'm an entrepreneur, he's an entrepreneur. So we get in the place where we try to compete. But in marriage, a relationship is not about competition. It's about partnership. Somebody say partnership.
Partnership.
When you're in a partnership, each person does their
Part.
And when you're talking about I want it all, you have to understand what is my role in all of this. It's okay if my husband doesn't support me the way that I feel like he should, or the way that I feel like my wife should support me. But what way can they support me and I still get what I need to get done, and vice versa? So collaborate. The same way we are in here collaborating with one another. Do you know that there is a way you can collaborate with your spouse? Communication and collaboration. My husband has been a full-time entrepreneur for almost 10 years, so I understand the entrepreneur lifestyle. I understand the business lifestyle. And there are many times where we have to collaborate. I'm over here, he's over there. There are times where we're apart a couple weeks out of the month. That's a long time to be apart from your spouse. Am I right about that? Yes. But because we collaborate and we make sure that we're in constant communication with one another, we're open and we're honest. But what I do know, ladies, sometimes what we like to do, sometimes we're not that open and honest. That goes from buying things and putting it in the trunk or putting it in the closet, or really sharing with them and being open as to what we have going on. Rather than spending that $12,000, or honey, I need to fly to Atlanta 2 weekends out of the month, or I have to miss Thanksgiving, we're not open and honest. And you know, they say that marriages fail because there is a lack of communication, but I beg to differ. It's the perspective on the communication that's being conveyed. We have to learn how to have that perspective. Number 2, control. We can control the narrative. We can control the outcome. And the reason why I say that is because if we are partnering with one another, if we are collaborating and communicating with one another, we can control exactly how that thing will end up. And we can build in time in the event something does not work out the way that we planned. But because we're constantly building one another, because we're constantly feeding one another positive communication, the collaboration and the control is easy. Then compromise. There's a compromise. There's a give and take in relationships. There's a give and take, and particularly in marriage. And many people don't understand that. Because I want what I want, and you want what you want. And I believe that once we get in this relationship, I'm going to have to give up some things that I want. I can't go to school. I can't start that business. I can't write that book because you're trying to get your MBA. You're trying to get your PhD. Well, why can't we do all that together? And that's a misconception when it even comes to young marriages. My son is 22 years old. At the age of 21, he decided that he wanted to get married. Yes, I have a 22-year-old. I didn't understand it at the time. But now I understand it completely because as him and his wife were talking to me, they said, Mrs. Treal, we want to build together. Such young minds understanding the importance of collaboration. They're understanding the importance of controlling the narrative. And they're understanding the importance of compromising in that relationship so they can build together. So I don't know how many single women I have out here, or how many single men that I have out here, and you've had the desire to be in a relationship. You have a desire to marriage, but you always thought that you had to choose. I'm here to let you know that this is the season of and. You don't have to choose. Yes, you have to find or be found by a partner where you have some commonalities and commonalities with that person, but you do not have to choose. Somebody say, I don't have to choose.
I don't have to choose.
Support. Jill talked about that a little bit earlier. So, what I want to leave here with you is that when I first got married, I actually dated my husband before we got married. We broke up, and then we got back together. And in that time of us getting back together, I knew where God was taking me, and he knew as well. He began to speak life into my destiny. And it's when he told me that I would be in a position where I'd be impacting the lives of millions of women all around the world, I knew that I had found something great. So I said that to say to you, for those of you that are in the looking stage, those of you that are desiring to be found, find somebody that can see you beyond where you are right now. That's another reason why you can't have it all, or it may appear to be that, because you're attracting bozos, or you're attracting misfits. You're attracting people that only want what they think you're going to have and not willing to put in the support. Because what happens when you lose the job? What happens when you lose the contract? What happens when the book deal does not fall through? So you're getting somebody or getting found by someone that understands the journey and the process that it's going to take for you to get to that place.
So what Jill and I want to continue to do, we want to continue the conversation with you. We help women to transform their lives and their relationships, and I must say that we're very good at it. From your faith, your fitness, your family, your fulfillment, and your finances. Because we understand that those are the core areas in your life that need to be transformed if you are going to be successful in any area of your life. Like our coach likes to say, you cannot experience 6 figures between your hands before you change 6 figures between your ears. That's your mind. So you have to shift your mind and shift your perspective and knowing that I can have it all. There's some things that I may have to do different. There's some partnerships that I may have to form. There's some collaborations that I may need, but I can indeed have it all. So we want you to text the word WIN to 843-732-0564. 843-732-0564. And include in that for me your name and also your email. And once you do that, I want you to stand up and I want DJ 5-Star to play a little something on because I want y'all to go out with the bang. Because I want y'all to understand that you can change your mind and change your life. However, what I do understand as well is that you can't do that on your own. It takes work. It's a process. And many people don't understand the work that is required. So go ahead, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Once you're done text. Everybody texting? Y'all good? Y'all good? So we're going to live our best life, right? We didn't come all the way to Atlanta not to live our best life. Listen, Jill and I drove from Virginia, what should have been a 9-hour trip to 13 hours. So because we are here, and because we're surrounded by all of you great men and women in this room, we are determined to live our best life. Say, this is the last day.
This is the last day
That I will not.
live my best life.
This is the last day.
This is the last day that I will not live my best
I
life.
am greatness.
I am greatness.
I am victorious.
I am victorious.
I am abundantly blessed.
I am abundantly blessed.
Highly favored.
I am highly
I
favored.
am a peculiar person.
I am a peculiar
I
person.
am a royal priesthood.
I am a royal
I can do
priesthood.
all things.
I can do all things
Through Christ who strengthens me.
through Christ who strengthens me. 2020, I'm coming for you. 2020, I'm coming for you. 2020, I'm coming for you.